Welcome to the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. This is episode 31, Wonderland's War. My name is Tyler.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
In this episode, we're going to do a feature review of Wonderland's War. We're going to talk about some of the games we've been playing lately, and we're going to do a look back at a game that we did a feature review of over a year ago, Railways of the World.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be good. I'm excited. These are good things for me. I like all the things that we're talking about today, so I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
We were just talking about all the games that we're kickstarting, and
and it's I'm not going to say it's out of control. I think there's others that back a lot more than we do. But we got a good number of games coming, right?
This year's going to hopefully have a lot of really interesting, good Kickstarters coming and fulfilling. I feel like probably at least every month, if things stay on schedule, we'll have something between the three of us coming in that is good and exciting, I think.
Which is going to make it difficult to get games off of our shelf of shame.
which we talked about.
Which we talked about in the last episode, but it's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about my list, and I'm like, man, I got to stop buying as many games, which I did a really good job of
until
the last quarter of 2022, until that 50% off Barnes & Noble sale at the end of right after Christmas.
Yeah.
Which they always have a sale like that, and it's crazy
but
how... But
not like that. It's usually on clearance. They have a clearance table.
They do, and the inventory is usually already picked through to some extent. So, like, you can get some good stuff on that sale, but this sale...
Which I have in the past, but this one was everything on sale.
Yeah, I almost want to not buy anything leading up to Christmas at the end of the year in hopes that they do this again after next Christmas, right?
Would you then be disappointed if they didn't?
Of course I would, but I mean, I've got enough games to play, so it's not too bad.
That'll ensure that your shelf of shame for 2024
stays in the single digits.
Yeah, there you go.
Because that's where it's going to get down to.
I heard. How's that going for you?
Oh, I'm making good progress. I've been playing a lot of new games lately.
That's good. How many games did you guys play last year? Not total, but do you know unique games? Do you guys have games? Yeah, do you guys have that off the top of your head? Because last year for me was I played the most unique games that I ever had before.
So for me, 149 unique games.
Well done. I was at 128.
Nice.
And it was my previous high was 117. That was last year. So that's a lot of different games played in one year.
It is.
I was the slowest, I think, and I think I said 63. I'd have to go back and double check, but yeah.
I think I figured out that around 71 or 72 were new to me.
Nice.
Like the app says 79, but I know some of those I had plays on before I started logging my plays.
Yeah, my app says 68, but I don't know how accurate that is. But it's awesome. Right? It is. We play a lot of different games.
We're so cool. Nerdy.
Yeah, we are nerdy. Stats. We are nerdy, but it's cool, I think, to log. I recently put in the forum posts on our Discord, to log or not to log. And it's interesting to see the reasoning behind doing it. Because it is kind of a nerdy thing, right? If you tell somebody outside of the hobby, yeah, I log all my games, But it's like kind of a form of journaling is in a weird way for me.
It is.
Right? So
and it helps you remember some of those experiences.
Yeah, you can put notes in the game, or it's fun to go back and see who won games. If there's ever a dispute that comes up, we have it documented, right? No, I won that game, But it's just kind of cool.
And I don't keep them to so that I can go back and check my win percentage. It's not about that. It's just having an all-encompassing knowledge of where I've been and who I've created those memories with and how many times I've played specific games. It's awesome. I love it.
All the locations that I've played throughout the year. It's kind of fun looking back on that, I've played in, 15 different places.
Yeah, whether or not it has any actual substantive means in the end.
It doesn't, but it tells you what you did the past year.
Yeah, my favorite thing, you already mentioned this a little bit, my favorite thing about keeping the stats is being able to go back. I think when we played a game the other night, and it might have been when we played an Unfathomable, and we started talking about games and things like that, we started looking back at specific ones and be like, oh yeah, no, it was actually Dan who won that one, or it was whomever, and then it helped remember
triggers your
stories,
memory.
and then those moments, and that's a fun shared experience, I think.
Yeah, nerdy.
I agree. So let's talk about some of the games that we've recently been playing. that we have logged plays of.
All right. I'll go first.
Let's do it.
Actually, I'm going to talk more about an activity than a game. This is a game I picked up at the Barnes & Noble sale at 50% off right after Christmas. And I was excited to get this one played. It was a Spiel des Jahres winner, won Game of the Year, and I didn't realize that they gave that award out to activities. This is Micro Macro Crime City. It came out in 2020. It was designed by Johannes Sich and published by Edition Spielweise and Pegasus Spiel in the US, I believe. So basically, this is Where's Waldo, the board game. There's a crime that's occurred. You have to find where that crime is. It's usually a dead body laying somewhere on this giant, sprawling map that's probably about 2 feet by 3 feet. Oh, it's 29 inches by 43 inches. Pretty close. So there's 16 crimes that you have to solve, and they get progressively harder. You don't have to do them in order. But basically, you have a crime scene and a prompt on a card. And when you figure out the answer to that prompt or that question on that card, then you have somebody who's leading the investigation in the group, and they check. If you're right, you continue on to the next card and the next clue. If you're wrong, then that person can't contribute, and the other people who are playing continue to look for clues on this city map. So it's black and white. The art is fun. It's really well done. It's a really fun activity. It's a stretch to call this a game. It's a brilliant idea. It says 15 to 45 minutes. I think the longest that we took for any mission or crime was like 10 minutes. We played this over the course of 2 nights, and it was 3 hours or so total. And we completed all the crimes, and I don't really see us going back to it. It was a fun activity. It was a great family experience. There are a couple of images in this version that are a little more adult, but there is a masked crusader in one of the crimes. And we had seen him so many times across the city while we were looking for other stuff, and he stood out that we knew right where to look for this particular crime. But it's really fun activity. It's
not much of a game there. So.
Not much of a game. I guess you could get this out at a party just to try and create conversation and get something going. I don't know if it was dead or what, but I just don't ever see myself going back to this, and I don't know that I'll buy the other versions of this game.
So is it kind of a one-time shot type of thing, or
I think so.
You play it once and you've seen it and you're done.
Yeah, you can forget what you did.
You can forget, and you'll forget exactly. I mean, it's a big map, and these characters. You have a magnifying glass card thing that comes with the game, so you have to really focus to see the detail. So you'll forget where some of the characters and answers are, but I just don't see us going back to it.
With all the spiel hype that was around it, I kept hearing about it and know that people were really excited about it, thought it did fabulous. But I just, what you're describing in your experience was what I expected my experience would be just listening to it. Not that that's bad, because it sounds like, it's enjoyable and it's a fun thing to do, but it's not like, if I'm going to invest the time to do that, I'd rather just play a game.
Right. And, when I think of Spiel, I think of games that are relatively easy to get to the table, but are really fun to play and often have a simple rule set, but also have very rewarding decisions. And this is just nowhere near that. I mean, it was a fun activity, but it's not something that we're going to go back to constantly, like Azul. I don't know, just Llama. But even
that one's almost just an activity too.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. I feel like this is an activity. It should not have won the Spiel. It's a great design. Props to the designer and for coming up with this idea. It is fun to look at some of the characters and caricatures that are on this city map, whatever, Kevin.
That's tough. This tough one.
Yeah. it's fun to look and just see what other people are doing. And yeah, it's an activity. We had a great time with it as a family. We got a good few hours out of it. We're never going to go back to this.
Not a glowing endorsement for that one, but
it wasn't like
but
bad
it doesn't
either.
sound like a bad
I don't think
I think my issue is just it's not a spill. It shouldn't be a winner of the game of the year. Yeah. That's my issue.
All right. So we talked about the Barnes and Noble sale. I did not pick this game up, but my wife did, which is even better.
If you were Tyler, that would be a caveat.
This is correct. Correct.
Well,
I had no restrictions, so it was fine either way.
You guys love my caveats.
Yeah, there's like a million of them. It's great. This game is called Shifting Stones. It's designed by J. Evan Riot. Artist is Kwanchai Moria, and it's published by GameRight. So this is a very simple game. The way it works is there's a grid of 9 stones, and these stones are represented by tiles. The tiles they're actually really cool tiles. In the physical version, they're textured. The art is great. The tiles look really good. And on each side of the tile, there is a different color. So you set out this grid, and then you get a handful of 4 cards. And these cards have the grid is on the cards, and there are certain tiles that are positioned in different spots on these cards. And the whole goal of the game is you're trying to get the grid to match your card, and then you can score that card. But as you can imagine, the tiles are all in different places, so you're going to have to shift those tiles to match up the scoring conditions on your cards. Now, the cards, some of them are easy to do, and they're worth 1, and there's some of them that are very difficult to do, and those are worth 5. And there's 2, 3, and 4 that you can get. To shift the tiles, you have to discard a card from your hand, and you have 2 options. Either you flip over a tile to the other side, revealing a different color, or you can swap places orthogonally with any 2 tiles, as long as they're adjacent. So you're looking at the board, you're looking at your scoring cards, and you're trying to figure out how I can move around these tiles to get the most points scored for that round. So depending on player count, whoever gets a certain amount of cards scored, that triggers the end of the game, and then everybody takes an equal amount of turns. Whoever has the most points wins. That's it. It's super simple. The only other thing for scoring is if you are the person that has the most scoring cards that are 1 value scoring cards, you get a bonus of 3 points at the end of the game, which can be huge. Yeah, which can be huge, right? Because the scores usually range from 12 to 17, 18-ish around there. So 3 points at the end of the game is a big deal.
Can be a good swing.
It can be a good swing, and it can incentivize you to go after the easier cards rather than trying to, get lucky and go after the 5-point cards. So this game it's fun. It's one of those games where I play it and I'm just kind of relaxed playing the game.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
It doesn't
so
take
relaxing.
itself too seriously. You just kind of like we've been playing on BGA, and I get to my turn. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yep.
And then I look at the board. I'm like, oh, okay, I think I can do this. I can score these to 1 card, maybe 2 cards, and then move on to the next game. And it's like, oh, okay, that's fun. I like it.
Yeah, you can't take the game too seriously, though, is the thing. Because if you're going into this game expecting to have a ton of meaningful strategic decisions that you're making, that's not what you're going to get.
Nope.
You have to wait until your turn to decide what's going on. There's really not a lot of point in trying to set stuff up for your next round, especially if you're playing with a higher player count.
Yes, by the time it gets back to you, the stones
the whole state of the board is completely different. Things have been flipped over, shifted, changed, completely different locations, and why you save something like the cards range from 1 to 5.
1
you
to
said
5.
Right?
Yep.
And so if you're I can make this 5 work next time, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen.
You can kind of try and set it up, but you don't know if it's going to be there when your turn. You don't know if you're going to have enough cards to manipulate the board state to get that card done.
But with that in mind, I think that for me, that's why it's just a relaxing game. I'm not taking it too seriously. I enjoy seeing, okay, where's my optimization on this turn?
Yeah.
Right?
It's a tactical game, not a strategic game.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question. I've only played this on Board Game Arena, and I'm just not sure. Do the stones ever get replaced over the course of the game, or is it the same 9 stones?
It's the same 9 stones, and there's a fixed set of each color combination. So there's like 3 of the white-green combination. So if you look, there's a card
reference card.
A reference card that will show you, okay, here's what one color is on one side, and here's what color is on the other side. But it's always the same 9 set of stones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's always the same 9. It's not random.
They're randomly distributed in the grid.
I feel like there's times where I get a certain color on the scorecard, and there's like 1 stone out there of
There
that.
is. The
and
black,
I'm like, black yellow.
yellow. There's only one black
Okay.
yellow.
All right. I'm not crazy.
No.
Which is also why it happens to be more often than not the ones that have higher point scoring on it. So
Yeah, or the ones that are not as, there's only one of them type of thing. It is very luck based a lot of times.
Yes.
Sometimes it'll come around to your turn and you're like, oh, I've completed that. Great. Awesome. Or I've completed 2. Like I've had turns where I've completed 3 cards and it's just completely random.
Yeah.
But it's cool and it feels good.
it does. And that's the weird thing to me about this game is that most games that have that degree of randomness in it would be games that I'd be less inclined to spend my time with. And yet playing this game, I'm like,
I don't care.
that's not a big deal.
That's like what I said. It's like relaxing.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Zen game or something.
It really is.
I just saw who won the last game that we played. I didn't know.
It was
It was
me.
a tie,
It
wasn't
was
it?
tied.
Yeah.
No, but I'm on top, I believe.
Well, I mean, it says first by both of our names.
yeah, but mine is on.
Oh my gosh. That's a technicality.
Yeah.
All I know is I lost.
Yeah. Only by 2 points. That's probably our closest game, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a great little game. It's relaxing. It's fun to play. You know, there are times when you're playing on Board Game Arena and you go through your list of current games you're playing and a beast comes up and it's like, I just don't have time for this right now. Skip. And then something like Shifting Stones comes up and it's like, yeah,
Perfect. That's
I'm gonna
what I
knock
need.
this out. Sweet. Cool.
Yeah. So that's Shifting Stones.
So another abstract game that I've been playing lately, and this one too is also on Board Game Arena, but I own a copy of this as well, is War Chest. War Chest is designed by Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson. David Thompson, as you'll recall from our last episode, also designed Undaunted, Normandy, Reinforcements, all of those different games, and we tend to like his designs here. It's also published by AEG, Alderac Entertainment Group. This is a bag building game. And if you've listened to us for any amount of time, you know that we like bag building games here. I like this game a lot. I bought this game on a whim a number of years ago, and since have been starting to play it more and more on BGA. It's hard to get to the table for me usually because it's a 2-player game, and that typically is more difficult. But essentially what you're doing in this game is it's a tactical military game in which you have 3 different units, and these can be different every game because in the box you have, I don't know, something like 15 different potential unit types that you can use. There may be more or less than that. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there is a lot in the box, and you're going to take 3 of those every game, and you're going to take 3, and your opponent's going to take 3. You're going to throw some of those in your bag, and then you're going to keep some as a supply that you can increase your army size throughout the game. Essentially what you're trying to do is it's kind of this abstract tactical chess-like experience where you're trying to position yourself on the board in a way that you control enough of these control points that you end up winning the game by controlling 4 at a certain point in the game. So essentially what you're doing in the game is every round you're going to draw 3 coins from your bag. You take those coins and you can do different actions with them. So everybody's going to get 3 turns each round. And you can take those 3 coins and do different things with them. So you use the coins each turn. You can place a coin and either deploy or bolster a unit. So you can, if you don't have a unit of that type already on the board, you can deploy. And it has to deploy into certain areas already on the board or adjacent to units you have on the board. Or you can bolster. Bolster meaning that if you already have that unit on the board, you can place another one to make it a stronger unit. Then you can do either a face down action or a face up action, meaning I can play a chip from my bag face down or face up so that my opponent can either know what I'm using, or you can kind of conceal what you're discarding. And that can be a tactical decision that can be really useful, but most of the time it just helps you understand what you're doing. So a face down action allows you to claim initiative. Basically, that's take first player order. And player turn in this game can be important for a lot of different reasons, but it can be a critical action you can take. You can recruit units. So like I said earlier, you have a supply of units that you can add to your bag. And if you play a chip face down, that means I can put things in the bag. Or you can pass. Then your face-up actions are you can move, control, attack, or use a tactic. Each of these units have special abilities on them with tactics that allow them to either maneuver or attack in specific and special unique ways. So that's why the game has a lot of variability in it. I like this game. There's a lot going on in such a little package, and as far as like rules overhead, that I think that it creates a lot of really fun experiences. And I think it does really well. I'm not sure that I love the BGA implementation as much as I like playing on the table.
It's a little fiddly.
It is. It's harder to see what your stuff is, what's in your bag, and when I'm playing a bag builder, I love the tactile feel of using that bag and pulling those chips out, and especially when you have like the poker chips that are in this game,
they are really nice.
Good quality, and that's a really tactile experience that
they've got
I find fun.
They've got some girth to them.
They do chips. Indeed.
Yeah, they're beefy.
Yeah, so that's
love me some beefy chips.
Yeah, there's certain games that have beefy chips, and then War Chest is one. Wonderland's War, which we'll talk about later, also has some beefy chips.
Less beefy and girthy than the War Chest chips, but still very
that
nice.
heft
Very
is
nice.
there.
Yep.
Did you mention who designed this game?
I did.
Okay, awesome. The same team that did Undaunted.
Right, I also said that.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Try to keep up, Tyler.
I started playing this on Board Game Arena.
Just doesn't listen, does he?
I do.
Oh my
to what games I own, to what games I play,
it's like the Charlie Brown That's all ears come out of your mouth.
No, I had something going on. I'm sorry.
Just a pretty face to you, aren't I, Tyler?
I started playing this on Board Game Arena. That's the only place I've played it. I have really enjoyed my plays, especially like you start out with the recommended starter set, and they're cool, but then once you start mixing in all of the chip sets or all the chips that are available, you get some really cool combinations. It's awesome.
And they make you feel powerful certain times that you're like, oh, this seems like a OP kind of a combination, but then you see what your opponent's doing and how they're countering it, and you're like, oh, that actually is really cool.
Yeah, I picked this one up recently. I'm excited to get it played physically.
You got it at Barnes & Noble, didn't you?
I did. I wasn't going to bring that up because we've talked about it a lot. But yeah, Barnes & Noble, 50% off. It was awesome.
Next year, all in.
Yep.
So yeah, that's War Chest.
So speaking of Barnes & Noble sale, a game that I knew nothing about, but I bought because it was heavily discounted, is Long Shot the Dice Game. In last episode, I talked about a flip and write game that I ended up loving, Zombicide Gear Up. This is a roll and write game in a small little package, right? It's a racing game. There are 8 horses, and it re-implements a much older game called Long Shot. So this is the dice game version that came out in 2022. You're betting on 8 horses. You are so you roll an 8-sided die, and that number that you roll, that horse advances, and it's the number that you can interact with, whether it's that horse or that horse is upgrading that horse or betting on that horse. So there's a number of different things you could do. You can buy concessions that give little bonuses. This game is really fun, and it's another one where you're writing just directly on the cards with a erasable marker. One of the things that's cool about it, so if you roll the die, and aside from being able to interact with just that horse's number, any horse that's been marked on that horse's card will also advance one space. So over the course of the game, you're buying, I think they're called jerseys for other horses. And if you want horse number 8 to win the race, you're going to try and add 8 to as many other horses' cards as possible. So each time they advance, horse number 8 also advances, right? So horses 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 are most likely to win because they're on other cards the most to start out the game. But it's a really fun game. It's a betting race game. If you buy one of the horses that ends up on the pedestal or first, second, or third at the end of the game, then you get a huge payout for that. Otherwise, you are calculating all your bets on those 3 horses that won. It's another 25, 30-minute roll and write that I was just pleasantly surprised with. I really excited about this one. And it plays up to 8 players. There were moments where near the end where we're cheering for horses to win and for certain die rolls to come out. And it was getting exciting. And I can imagine that if you played this with 8 players, that it would be like that. And you get to do something on every roll. So you're not waiting for your turn. It's simultaneous play. But just really fun little roll and write.
I don't know what it is about horse racing board games that appeals to me, but because I have no actual I've never gone to a horse race. I've never watched it, whatever. The closest I think I've come is going to the carnival games and playing the ones where you squirt the squirt guns to make your horse go across the pitch. But there's something about board games that are horse racing that excite me, and I can't put my finger on it. This sounds exciting to me, especially the whole mechanic of, like you said, if you want to ensure that number 8 wins, you start stacking all the horses with that number on it so that you can go and progress that one further. I love that concept, and I think that sounds really exciting. I'd love to try this one.
It's also fun because the horses get past a no betting line, and then you can't bet on them unless you have upgraded the hat or the helmet or something related to that horse. But then some of the bonus actions when you complete rows or columns in the concessions is to move horses backwards. And so there's some jockeying there of horses going back and forth. And it's really fun. It's an exciting 25 minutes.
Yeah, I own actually the board game version of Long Shot that came out in 2009. And hearing you describe it, I think there's some similarities between the two. I haven't played that board game version in years, but it also plays up to 8. And I remember having game nights at my house and having 8 people around the table and betting on these horses. And it was just a super fun experience. So if that's kind of consolidated into this dice form or whatever, sounds awesome. So yeah, I'd be interested in checking it out.
Yeah, we need to get this one played.
All right. Another game I've been playing, I've talked about this one before. I played it originally. It's been a while. And that's Arkham Horror, the card game. For whatever reason, this one is just hard for me to get played. It's a fantasy flight game. Similar to other fantasy flight games, the rules overhead is pretty steep. It's got a learn to play manual and then a rules reference manual. Altogether, there's probably like 40, 50 pages of rules that you have to sift through to get to play it. So it's been hard for me to get to the table, but I bit the bullet and I'm like, okay, I'm going to refresh myself on the rules and get the first scenario played again in the base box. And I'm super glad I did. This one it's Arkham Horror, the card game. It's based on the Cthulhu mythos. It is one of the most thematic games that I've ever played. It's basically an RPG version of a card game, right? So the way it works is you pick an investigator, you pick a scenario. It's a campaign game, so you're going to start with the first scenario and then work your way through. In the base box, there are 3 scenarios, and then there's all kinds of different expansions that you can get. And you can play those expansions in any order you would like, but all of the expansions are basically a campaign that you work through. So you pick an investigator, and then you get everything set up. It is a kind kind of a deck. It's not a deck builder, but you build your
deck construction.
Yeah, it's like a deck construction. So you're going to construct your deck before the game starts. I did a pre-constructed deck that's recommended, but once you get a little more experienced in the game, you can build your own decks, which we've talked about Lord of the Rings LCG. That's the same type of game. And that's my favorite part of the game is constructing that deck before and then kind of tailoring it towards the specific scenario that you're playing. Awesome. And you see if your deck worked. Sometimes it goes down in flames. Other times you're like, hey, it worked exactly how I wanted it to, and it was awesome. So I haven't done that yet with Arkham Horror, but I'm super excited to do it. I'm not going to talk about this specific scenario because there are spoilers in it. I lost this time. The first time I played, I won. What is super cool about this game is based on the outcome, there's different results at the end. Based on your outcome, certain things are going to happen later in that campaign. People may come back. If you don't defeat somebody, they may come back later. You're going to add cards to your deck that you can use to build your deck later. You upgrade cards. You get a certain amount of points at the end of the scenario that you can use to buy new cards or upgrade existing cards in your deck. And that lasts through the whole campaign. Super awesome. It's one of those games where you're playing through the scenario, you see it in your mind, and it's very cinematic. It's like, Cthulhu Death May Die. We talked about that. It's the same thing. You can actually see Cthulhu coming and destroying you. There's certain things that happen that are memorable in that game, and it's the same with this game. So super fun game. I'm excited to play through the other 2 scenarios in the base box, and then I have 2 expansions that I want to work through as well. It's just something that I'm really glad that I got back out and playing again.
One of the things that impresses me about this game, and we've talked about other things, but one thing I don't think we've talked about much is that the experience that you're creating. You talked about, Kevin, the branching choices or branching options if you end a scenario, right? There are different consequences for being more or less successful. One of the things that works really well for that is that narrative that is developed throughout it is consistent still. Like it makes sense, and it's good storytelling, I think, in general. From what I've experienced with this game, it creates this narrative where, like you said, you can visualize and you can imagine everything that's going on. The art and the storytelling, the components all kind of bring this all together and have a really interesting experience that I've really started to enjoy more and more. And every time that we talk about it, I think, why am I not playing this game more? Right. Because there's so much to love about it. And I think really the biggest, most difficult part is there is a burden in the fact that it can be hard to remember everything and relearn. So if you're not playing it consistently, you're going to lose out and you're going to have to refresh on stuff. And it's a bit of a flow chart kind of a experience. If X happens, I need to do this and then this and then this. And that can be harder to remember if you're not playing it as consistently.
Yeah, it's an easy game to mess up a rule or two, for sure. Like I said, I think most Fantasy Flight games suffer from that. There's a lot of rules and a lot of nitpicky rules. And
when you have an entire glossary dedicated to every little nuance, it's hard.
But it's rewarding. If you can get through that, it's a rewarding experience.
Totally agree.
Which I need to keep it up. And we were talking earlier. It's one of those games. It's a great solo experience, but I want to experience it with somebody else. A lot of the cards in the game feed off other investigators that are with you. And I want to either play 2 investigators solo, but I think I'd prefer to play 2 investigators with, actually 2 people around the table.
I've actually never played this. A coworker gave me a used copy of the base game, and the more I hear you talk about, or both of you talk about it, the more I want to get it played. So it sounds amazing.
It's a fun one. I'm excited to explore some more. So that's Arkham Horror, the card game.
I think that also wraps up what we've been playing lately and moves us into what we have been playing historically, in the fact that we need to talk about the game that we once upon a time reviewed, Railways of the World.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
I forgot about that.
I did too. I thought we were going into our feature review. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Railways of the World and what we originally rated this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, everybody rated this a 4. Kevin, you own this game. You're the one who has this game. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experiences with this since?
So it is still in my collection. It's actually, my collection has increased in the past year. The Railways of Sweden Kickstarter was fulfilled, so I got that one in the mail. I've played this one actually quite a bit. Most of the plays have been on BGA, but we have got it, the physical version out a few times and played it the past year, which is my favorite way to play it.
On table?
On the table. Yeah, because, well, there's a few things that are a little annoying about the table, but the table presence of this game is amazing. I love seeing all the trains out there and all the tracks and just how it unfolds throughout the game. The fact that it covers up the city names with the tracks is kind of annoying. And I love on BGA how you can raise the city names and you can always see those.
Or show the major lines.
Or show the major lines. That's another thing, is not being able to, there's no markers to mark the major lines on the physical version. That's a little bit annoying. So I played it quite a bit. I still just love this game. Like we mentioned, it was originally it was a 4 for my rating. Every time I start playing this game, it just makes me happy. I like looking at the board. I like planning my strategy out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The Railways of Sweden board is awesome. It's brutal.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, and but I love that about the game where you can play a different map and it's a completely different experience. Like we introduced 2 new people to the Railways of the World, and we played the Railways of Sweden map, and they had never played before. So it
may not be the most friendly first encounter you can get with the game.
Matt and I think Mark, wasn't Mark there?
Yeah.
I felt a little bad that was their first experience because it was tough. But the fact that it varies so much between map to map is just awesome. I love it. So I was thinking about what my rating would be, and I think I'm bumping this one up to a 5.
Are you?
For me.
I wondered if you would.
I did too.
Yeah, because it's just awesome. I love it. There's really nothing. There's very little about the game that I don't like. So it's a solid 5 range for me.
Well, your copy is special too because you got a couple mutated formed train cars.
Like one of the black trains is like missing the back of the train. Oh, 2 of them.
Well, there's one that's like 20% there.
Which, I don't get too upset about like mutant pieces in games. Like for some reason, I have a lot of red pieces in games that are just completely deformed. And it's kind of a funny thing now.
So they're pink and they're supposed to be red.
Yeah, right. So the fact that I think we even talked about on when we were playing, it's like, oh, are you going to get with Eagle Griffin and have you send some replacements? And I'm like, no, it's just kind of funny at this point, So.
Which that in and of itself is surprising to me.
It's kind of weird
because of how particular you are.
Yeah, I am.
Along with other people in the group about protecting your games and keeping them nice. But it's almost like you have this baseball card with an error on it that's more valuable.
Right. That's true.
It's true. It's misprint,
And it doesn't, if it affects the gameplay, then I'm going to be like, I got an expansion for Roll for the Galaxy, and all the tiles were misprinted. They were like, they weren't centered. It's like, okay, that you can't play the game when it's a mess up like that. But if it's like a small little defect, then I'm going to be like, not a big deal. Yeah. It gives the game character, right?
Yeah, and I think this game has a lot of character. I'll go next in what I want to talk about. This game has, like I said, a lot of character, and there's a lot of information that's going on in the game. I love, like you said, Kevin, that there are all the different maps involved, and there's a lot of different things that you get to explore. I've played this a lot since we reviewed it. I don't know. I've got to say probably 10 to 20 times I've played it since we reviewed it. I just keep playing it. Most of those are on BGA, but played them on the table a number of times as well. But I love that it's on BGA for all the reasons that you talked about, and because I get to explore all those different maps. I think I've played everything that's on there now, and I wish that all of the maps were on there to be able to explore it more. But it's a great game, and I really like it. I will say that I think in the when we reviewed it originally, we talked about some of the things that were a little bit negative about it potentially. One of those things that stands out to me is that there tends to be a distinct a point in the game in which you can see who is going to win the game, or the maybe one or two people who are going to win the game,
or at least see who's not going to come back.
Exactly. It can be very clear at a certain point where you're not going to make that. We've seen ones where like you can only take out bonds because you can't pay off your bonds, so you have this like recurring kind of growth of like terror because I can't do anything. But
is my score going to be negative?
Get in more debt. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can be a little bit negative. So I think in the original review we said that the game's not perfect, and I think that's the truth. I love the game, and like for me personally, it might be it's a game that I'll always play and could be like a 5 for me, but I think it's got to stay at a 4 just because I recognize that not every game it's not a perfect game, and this is not for everybody. For me, I love the game and I love playing it, but it's not for everybody.
So for me, this game does some really cool things, and it's a lot of fun to play. I love playing this game on Board Game Arena. I've only played it once, I think, since we reviewed it on the table. And it was that Sweden game with 2 new players. The analysis paralysis was on full throttle during that game.
I did not even notice that.
It felt excruciatingly slow for me. And part of that was because I knew 40% into the game that I was one of those people that was
trailing.
I was out of range. And when you sit and play this game, it's a lot of fun to play. But when you know you're out of it, and then you still have to sit there at the table for another hour and a half, and it's still fun to try and eke out points. But there was some AP going on, and I don't know. That was a rough play for me. So I love all the different maps. I love how they introduce different things. Part of the reason I also love, we already talked about, but part of the reason I love playing this on Board Game Arena is because I can see all the cards that are available. I can see the routes. It's a big board. I don't know. I've struggled with this one. At least that last play that we had of playing it on the table. So I love playing it on Board Game Arena. The Railways of Sweden map is brutal. It's on BGA now, which is awesome because it is fun to explore that. We're in our second or third game of that on BGA, and I'm excited about that. I'm going to do a split rating. Yeah. So for me, I'm going to stick, this stays at a 4 for me if I'm playing it on Board Game Arena. If I'm playing this on the table, it's a 3.
Well, the game's no, Misery Train, Imperial Steam.
Oh, jeez. That game's amazing. No, I love this game. For me, it's a much better experience on Board Game Arena. And if I'm trailing in a game on Board Game Arena, it's not painful to finish it out. Whereas if you're sitting around the table, I don't know, maybe you've never trailed.
No, I was terrible at this game at first. I don't think I won the first like 6 or 7 times I played, right? But every game I played, it was still a fun experience.
Yeah.
I've never felt like it was dragging on for me at all.
So I think have we only played this twice on the table?
So we played it here at your house. We played it at my house. I played it, I think, twice on the table at my house. I don't know if you were.
I don't think I was there.
I've played it at least 3 times on the. I think I played it 4 or 5.
Part of the reason I feel this way, the 2 times that I played, I know for a fact I was out of the game by the midway point in the game, and at that point it's like, okay.
And I've never had that experience, at least not to. I've been at the tail end before, but like the disparity between the points was not as great as sometimes that it can be. Mm-hmm. And so like I've never really had the experience of feeling that like that despair of I can't catch up.
You just play it so well.
But I've seen that happen almost every single game.
Yeah, it happens every game that we've played.
We've had a few games.
There's been a couple of
on
really
BGA
close
where we
ones.
were within 2 or 3. All of us were within 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Where there was just 3 of us, though.
It was just the 3 of us.
Yeah, but like higher player count, there's always going to be 1 or 2, I think, that are way behind. Anyway, I love the game. And I thoroughly enjoy the game on BGA, and this is one of the rare occasions where I enjoy playing a game more on BGA than on the table.
Yeah, and it's just such an epic looking game for me that I love it on the table.
It's a good
it's like
presence,
it's like
table presence is
Scythe.
awesome.
Yeah, it's like Scythe for me. Like you get Scythe and the big board, and you get all the upgraded pieces and stuff.
I mean,
and it's
art-wise, it's not.
And it's crazy. No, art-wise, but it's a train game, right?
Yeah.
And that's just the aesthetic of train games. You got the hexes, that's just how they are. But for me, that's never bothered me. I like seeing actually the things get built in front.
It's evolution of the game.
And then you look at it when it's done, and it's like, man, it's awesome.
Yep.
Like this, every game plays out different. Every route's going to be played different. All the cubes that get put out on the board are going to be in different places. So certain spots are going to be more sought after than other spots. And I don't know. I just think it looks cool that way.
Well, I think overall, given even Tyler's split rating, that means
Tyler's cranky old man take.
Get off my lawn.
there's a slight uptick in the score because Kevin goes up and you've got some weird rating going on. So
You understood it.
So yeah, like I think overall it's a good game. So that wraps up our look back at Railways of the World. Now let's look forward to the review that we've got planned today of Wonderland's War. So let's turn it over to Kevin for a rules overview.
Wonderland's War is designed by Tim Eisner, Ben Eisner, and Ian Moss, with art done by Manny Tremblay and produced by Druid City Games. In Wonderland's War, each player takes on the role of a famous Wonderlandian, leading a faction to war to right the wrongs that have befallen Wonderland. The game is played over 3 rounds. During each round, there is a tea party phase and a war phase. During the tea party phase, the characters rush around the tea party, making preparations for battle. You will place supporters into the regions of Wonderland to gain a foothold, gather the support of other Wonderlandians, recruit allies in the form of ally chips to your cause, and find magical forges that you can use to unlock your faction's unique abilities. In the tea party, you have 2 main objectives: place units into the regions where you would like to battle, and gather ally chips and Wonderlandians to help you in your cause. Each round of a tea party phase uses a different deck. Cards are placed on each chair of the tea party. On your turn, you may move clockwise around the table to any chair and gain the resources of the card in that space. Be careful not to move too quickly. Each time you pass the head of the table, you will gain dangerous shards which can cause you to earn madness chips. Once you have collected 4 cards during the tea party, you will venture into Wonderland. You place your leader on any of the 5 regions on the outside of the board. The tea party ends once all players have taken 4 tea party cards and placed their leader into a region. Due to exposure to the Mad Hatter's tea, all players gain 1 madness chip from the supply, placing it into their bag. Each player with the most shards gains 1 additional madness chip to their bag, then discards half of their shards. In the war phase, you will battle in each region where you have units by drawing chips from your battle bag. To win a battle and build a castle, you must have the highest strength, but you may wish to stop earlier to complete a quest or work toward forging your faction. The differing objectives in war require you to carefully analyze your opponent's position and balance your desires for control with the potential for destruction at the hands of madness. Starting in the region with the starting battle standee and proceeding clockwise, you resolve battle in each region. In the battle, you'll draw chips to advance your strength tracker on the battle track. All players with at least 1 unit in the region participate in the battle. If you do not have any units in the battle, you may place a wager on who you think will win the battle. Wagers are placed simultaneously by all players not involved in the battle after starting strength is determined. If you pick the correct winner, you get 1 weak ally chip. If you lose, you gain 1 shard. The first step in battle is determining player strength. Players gain strength at the start of battle for each leader, Wonderlandian figure, and castle they have in the region. Each player adds up the leader strength shown on their faction board, strength of any Wonderlandian figures that are present, and 2 strength for a castle, and moves their strength tracker to that number. Players then simultaneously draw a chip from their bag. If it's a madness chip, they place it on the leftmost spot on their madness track and lose the indicated number of units. If a player still has units in the region, they can continue with the battle. If the chip was not a madness chip, the player resolves any when-played effects from the chip and places the chip on the leftmost open space on the active chip track. All players then advance each player's strength tracker by their drawn chip strength on the battle track. If all players have busted or halted, the battle is over. It's also over as soon as someone gets to 25 on the battle track or the only active player left in the battle is in the lead. If multiple players are left and the battle is not over, players can simultaneously draw another chip from their bag and continue until someone wins. As long as you did not bust, you may gain various rewards from the battle. You gain all of the rewards that you qualify for. The first and second place player in each region will be awarded victory points. Players can also earn points from completed quest cards. Another possible reward from battle is the ability to forge. Forging allows you to remove a chip from your active chip track and place it on your player board, unlocking additional bonuses. Once the third round war phase is complete, the game is over and players calculate their final scores. Players get points from castles, quest cards, and will subtract 1 point for each shard that they have at the end of the game. The player with the most points is the winner. So that's a quick rundown of the game. Let's get back to the table to see what we thought of Wonderland's War.
Thank you, Kevin, for the rules overview of Wonderland's War. So let's talk about this game and what we think about this game. To start out, let's go over the production as we like to do. We like to talk about this. This is a Kickstarter game, and so as is known for Kickstarters, they can go and have a lot of crazy things about this. The version we played is a copy owned by Ben in our group.
It's been taken up even a higher notch.
And it taints it a little bit, the version we have, I think, because it's
superior.
Even better than the Kickstarter.
He's upgraded it. He's added stickers to the meeples. He's got trays for the player boards.
Dual layer trays that he bought on Etsy. Yeah.
That are awesome.
And a couple of other things like that. But the game itself doesn't come with those. The one upgrade that you really can get through the Kickstarter is the chips. And we played with those. The chips are, you either have cardboard chips in the retail version or you have the
it's like plastic chips.
Yeah. Which are really good
good
weight
quality
and quality for the most part. So we played with that. So we're talking from that perspective. But let's talk about this. Who wants to talk a little bit about the production of this game?
I'll start. First of all, like when I saw this game on Kickstarter, I almost backed it because I love the art style. I think the art style is fantastic. The box cover just looks great with a big smiling Cheshire cat.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I love all of the art on the player boards, all the different Wonderlandians. I think it's just really well done, and that's the first thing that kind of drew me to the game was the art style. That's one thing. The second thing that I think is done really well is the miniatures are great. There's one drawback with miniatures that we'll talk about shortly. I think we all have that complaint, but I think they're really good quality. I even like the standees. I think the standees were really good.
I was going to bring those up. I played the other night with my son, and we played with the standees instead of the miniatures, and they were almost easier to keep track of.
Agreed.
And they have great art too. I mean, just the art.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum look great.
Yeah.
I think the first time, Kevin, you and I played it, we played with the standees instead of the miniatures, and I had the same exact experience, Tyler, that I thought, I almost might prefer the standees to the miniatures. And I think that's partially, well, you alluded to it already, Kevin. I think that's partially because with the miniatures, you don't have colored bases or some way to distinguish to whom the unit belongs to.
Huge oversight.
And that makes it really difficult to...
But they fixed that with the latest Kickstarter. They added color bases that you can get.
It's a big board, and if you're sitting across the table and there's like a pile of miniatures in a specific region, then it can be hard to be like, oh, wait, who has what and what is there, which one's a leader, which one's a Wonderland.
And what's your ability?
Yeah. Agreed.
And so that was one complaint. But
I think we alleviated a little bit the last time we played just by kind of grouping the Wonderlandians with the follower or supporters of whoever owned them.
They're colored meeples. Basically, you group them by whatever colored meeples. But sometimes
that was better.
Yeah, but sometimes
it's just packed in there, right?
Yeah.
And you can't really distinguish who's who.
Or other times, all you have is a Wonderlandian, and you don't have any of your other supporters in the region, and so like you could. You may not have that option to do it. I still think though that like production wise, like overall, it's a really well done production. But I think there's one other thing that I continued to experience. So in the game, you have 5 different potential ally chips or something like that. You have flamingos and cards and rooks and other creatures and other things in there. And these are the chips that go in your bag. If you have the supreme or the special, like
the upgraded
quality chips, you throw all of those in. But I found that the flamingos specifically, and I don't know if it's only the flamingos, but that's the only ones that ever happened to me. When I was mixing my bag up, there was a number of times that the stickers on the flamingo chips would fall off.
That's how he kept not drawing madness. He was filling the stickerless
It's the
chips.
flamingo. This makes sense now.
Yeah.
It was a strategy thing. I would actually rub off this.
Oh my God.
That pains my soul. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
No, but I wasn't mishandling them in any real way, but like I would be like, that fell off. I would take that out and then leave it there so that I wasn't manipulating the game in any way. This is
unacceptable for me. Like to have stickers falling off of premium chips.
Yeah, that's
oh my gosh, that would drive me nuts. And it drives me nuts. And it's not even my game.
Right.
Yeah. But if it was my game, that would drive me insane.
I get that that's probably a cheaper solution.
Yeah.
But again, you said it, Kevin. These are premium components. If I'm paying for the premium components,
stickers better stay on. Actually, there shouldn't even be stickers on them in the first place. Like
should have screen printed that.
You should have screen printed it. Get like the Geek Up bits from Board Game Geek. They get it right on the premium bits, right? There's no stickers on there, right? They're not going to wear off. They're going to last forever. So get something like that for your premium bits.
But like I said, that was only the flamingos that ever happened to me with. All the other ones were great. And that, like those chips in particular do elevate my experience with the game overall. And I like that experience because we've talked about bag builders. I like being able to feel those components in the bag and it's part of that tactile experience. It's really rewarding.
Yeah.
I think that covers our production of this game.
Yeah.
What about gameplay? Let's move into gameplay. Let's first hear from Tyler about what are some of the highlights? What are some of the things you liked about Wonderland's War?
I like that there's 2 phases to each round. There's only 3 rounds, so surprisingly, the game takes a little bit longer than you would think, but I like the breakup of the 2 phases, especially when you're at the table drawing cards. For me, that's the most fun part of this game because it feels rewarding. You're getting free stuff or getting cool stuff, and there's also some interesting decisions there of whether or not first of all, which card do I take? Because there's a number of good choices, but how far do I want to advance around the table and how worried am I about getting back to the head of the table and having to...
There's that risk reward.
Roll for more shards, which you don't want to get. So that's my favorite part of the game as far as gameplay goes.
I like the Tea Party phase a lot. I do like that it splits out in 2 phases because it really creates it. There's been comparisons made with this game between like a couple games, but the one that I wanted to focus on right now was between Blood Rage and this game, Wonderland's War. And I understand why those comparisons were originally made. In my mind, they're completely separate games and they're completely separate experiences, but one of the things that I like about both of those is that in Blood Rage, it's a card drafting game, right? And you're drafting cards and trying to get those into your hands to do specific things. The draft that exists in Wonderland's War is done in a way that is, I think, very interesting. It's different than other drafts that I've seen in that it creates almost a mini game out of that draft, other than it's just, hey, I'm going to take this card and then pass the cards along, take this card and pass the cards along. It has a bunch of cards laid out on that tea party table, and you're choosing, just like you said, Tyler, to go from plate to plate and say, oh, I want this one. But if I go too far ahead, what is Tyler going to take if I leave that option open for him, or what can I do? I like that there is asymmetric abilities that also make that tea party phase a little bit more interesting in that each character can do different things. Alice can go counterclockwise around the table, whereas everybody else is going clockwise, which makes your choices completely different.
It does, yeah. The Jabberwock poison speed.
Yes. Yeah. Like the Jabberwock being able to put poison on the plates and then essentially say, I'm putting a poison on this plate, meaning that people are less likely to want to take that, essentially reserving a card for me that I don't have to take immediately, that I can wait until to keep my eye on things. I think that's fascinating. I played as the Mad Hatter one game and really liked the ability that I could not move, not progress at some point, but then repopulate all the plates that were empty, and then without moving, get to select any card from anywhere, which was really interesting. I think that dynamic really made some really interesting decisions in that draft phase that, unlike Blood Rage, it's a very straightforward draft. But yeah. I do think that the draft in Blood Rage is more rewarding ultimately because the synergy between those cards were more existent.
I think that Mad Hatter ability may have been nerfed a little. Ben played it a little bit differently in our last play.
Yeah, he did.
But I love that the table never feels stagnant because cards are constantly getting taken. They're getting refreshed when people get back to the head of the table. But then when you start the second and then the third round, you get a whole new deck or a whole new set of cards that get played out that are even more powerful as the rounds go on.
Yeah, one of the things that I liked about the game, the whole battle mechanic can create some fun, exciting, tense moments. The first time we played, Tyson and I, you'd get a flamingo, and if you pull a flamingo out of your bag, the version that we were playing, you got to move up to the next forge symbol. And there's some pretty wide gaps between the forge symbols, right?
Which is your power in the battle, essentially.
Exactly. So it's your power. So you're jumping. You can potentially jump quite a few spots if you pull a flamingo out. And Tyson and I, we realized this pretty quick in the game, so we started loading up on flamingos, right? And we were going back and forth on these battles, and it was basically a race to get to 25. And we were both at the end of the track multiple times, and it was a fun, tense experience to pull that chip out of the bag, and we would, reveal it at the same time. And so I don't remember who won those battles, but I remember that we were just excited about it. And it was just an exciting, fun, press your luck, tense moment. And I don't remember even how many units we had left in the game, right? Because we could have been down to our last unit at that time. But it was just a fun, cool experience, right?
I love moments in games where a moment is created that you can remember that experience beyond the gameplay itself and that was exactly one of those for me. That pulling out of my bag, seeing I didn't get a flamingo, and having that excitement of I got to look at what Kevin drew now, and being like, did he get a flamingo or didn't he? Because it's going to make all the difference now. And it was just this it was as exciting for me to look at what I'm drawing from my bag as it was to look at what you were drawing from your bag. And even when I wasn't in the drawing phase anymore, because I really like the mechanic in drawing from the bag where I can stop at any time, all the Quacks, right? Like Quacks has that. You can push your luck and continue to draw from your bag. This game does that as well. And I can choose to stop at any moment. And if I stop and I have my strength at a certain level, I could potentially still win that battle, even though I'm no longer trying to add to it. But I would watch and see if Kevin is he going to draw more flamingos? And there's reasons I really liked about that battle phases that really was, I thought was really well done and really well designed, in that you have specific reasons why you would want to stay in or exit a battle for any given reason. Sometimes it's, hey, I want to get to a certain forge spot on the track so that I can forge more stuff and upgrade my character. Or other times it was, I have a quest that says if I have strength 2, 3, or 9, 10, if I stop there, I get a certain amount of victory points. And so you're trying to, the pressure luck is compounded by that. Not only am I pressing my luck by what I'm drawing from my bag, but I'm pressing my luck by, do I get out of the battle right now and risk somebody getting more points than me and still achieve my objectives, or do I press my luck to try and win that battle and get a castle out or something else?
I think that's something you learn with subsequent plays, that when you should and shouldn't. There was early on in one of the games, I could have scored 2 or completed 2 objectives for a specific battle, and I passed on that opportunity, thinking I'd have
another chance,
just as good of a chance to do it again, realizing later after the fact, no, I should have done that. I should have achieved both of those objectives. I should have stopped. There's not a lot of chances there to complete those objectives, and I didn't realize that. And that was in my first play, I think.
There's three chances.
Yeah,
that's all you have. Right?
And I passed up 2 cards that I could have scored, and so that was painful.
But I like moments like that it's like, I can clearly see the points at which in the game, if I had made a different decision, I can backpedal and backstep into seeing that's where, if I had made a slightly different decision, it would have been better.
I'm still excited to keep playing this game, and I feel like I still have more to learn about it. I did get a chance to play a 2-player game with my son, and I thought they did a really good job of altering a few things to make the game play really well still at 2 players. So I was excited about that.
That sounds like a good point and to transition. Let's talk a little bit more about this game and some of the things that we didn't like about this game and some of the experiences where we wish we had a better experience with it.
Ooh, can I start?
Oh, I was going to say, Kevin, would you like to start?
All right, cool.
A little eager there.
So I talked about the kind of the exciting moments that can happen in this game. That was one moment in about 7 hours of gameplay for me. There was very few of those moments that I experienced in playing this game.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
The whole first game
I agree.
that you guys were playing, I was playing on the other table at our game night. I mean, that table was loud, and I thought you guys were going to wake up my toddler.
I'm probably tainted by the last 2 plays a little bit. The first play was a lot more fun than the subsequent plays that I did. I think the game is much too long for what it is.
Agreed.
I don't know what the playtime was for our 2 games. It was over
3 hours.
Close to 3 hours. And for the amount of luck that is in this game, it just doesn't work for me, right? You can just get hosed on bad luck. You can pull those madness chips and just be out. And you can do that over and over again. And that, for a game like you mentioned Quacks, for a game like Quacks that is like an hour, that's fine. That's fine for me. Like I can get hosed in the last round of Quacks, and it's not a great experience, but it's like I've only invested an hour into this game. If I get hosed in Wonderland's War and I'm 3 hours into the game, I'm like, well, screw this game. I don't want to play this. And I had experience. I turned to Tyson in the last game, and I had a string of bad luck pulling the madness chips. And I'm like, I think I may hate this game. That was just that one little experience. And then I had a good experience later where, there was a battle that was fun and it was exciting and it was cool. But a game that lasts this long that allows those, a string of bad luck to kind of really hose your game, it's just not a fun experience.
And I think you consistently, like in the last couple of games we played, you consistently had strings of bad luck, like more so than I did. I've won almost all the games except for the last game we played, and I didn't have that experience. Now, there is not a lot of ways to mitigate that bad luck.
That's the problem.
That is a problem.
That is the problem. I think the biggest complaint I have with the game. I agree that it maybe overstays its welcome a little bit. Like I would like to reduce display time, but I think that the big problem with the game is the inability to mitigate bad luck, and the fact that bad luck is compounded once you get more bad luck. So, like, for example, when in the game, every round, everybody has to draw a madness chip at the end of every tea party, meaning that's a bad chip that goes into your bag. And if you have the most madness shards, you end up having to take a second one. Nobody else has to take a second one, but that person does. The benefit to that is you get rid of half of your madness shards rounded up, but that's not that significant of a benefit. And then I guess the other benefit is that you get to go first from then on, but I don't think that that's actually a benefit to go first.
If you're trailing.
Right.
If you're in last place, then you get to go first.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying is that stuff starts to compound.
Sure.
And so, like, if you're likely drawing more and more of the bad stuff and putting more bad stuff into your bag, you're likely going to be the person who is trailing. And so it's this compounding effect potentially.
And you have some control over how many shards you get, because you can control how fast you go around the table. It's one thing. What's frustrating a little bit is when you roll that die when you get to the head of the table, and that's luck based. You can roll a 3 or you can roll a 1, right, and get more shards. So there's not a whole lot of mitigation there. You can purposefully go to the cards around the table that let you get rid of shards, but then you're sacrificing some other positive benefit to do that.
You can take more of the cards that give you more chips, but then you miss out on some of the other really rewarding benefits on those cards.
But I disagree with that assessment, because I think actually the more rewarding benefits of the cards are getting more chips. Like I said, I've won most of the games here, and I think I'd almost never have gone for a Wonderlandian, and I've almost never gone for anything that doesn't give me at least one chip in my bag.
Yeah, because you're playing the odds game, right?
Right,
You're putting
exactly.
more chips in your bag than the madness chips, and then you fill the sticker and you pull out the sticker ones.
But even still, like, you can still pull. Yeah, you can still pull. Like in our last game that we played, I had a round where I pulled 3 madness chips in a row.
Yeah.
Then I drew 2 non-madness, and this is over the course of a number of battles. And then I drew 3 madness in a row. And there's sometimes where you have a bag full of good chips and your madness comes out and it resets, and all those madness chips go back into the bag, and you don't get to take.
And every time you draw out the one that you lose 2. Two of your supporters, right?
Which your shield refreshes when you bust, so that you can block that. But still, in a game like, going back to comparison with Quacks, right? In Quacks, you start out with a really crappy bag, but by round 9, your bag is amazing.
It's an upward trend, yeah.
You're not adding any white chips,
You're adding chips each round to your bag, but you don't really get exponentially ahead of the madness chips that are also continually getting added.
And there's no escalation.
And in fact, if you play it wrong, which I believe it would be wrong, but if you play it wrong and don't actually add any chips to your bag, there is a chance that you're adding more madness,
negative chips,
and so your probabilities are going the opposite direction that you want them to go.
Yeah.
And that's again,
that's
like
a problem,
I said, there's some compounding.
See, and I feel like I focused on adding tons of chips to my bags or to my bag, and I feel like my luck still sucked, and I still got the shaft on madness chips. And then not only that, I'm also missing out on some of the other cool benefits on other cards if I'm shooting for those chips, right? And then they don't come out. So in that game that I played with Logan, I had a battle where I figured it out. It was a 28-point swing. I had one supporter left. In the 2-player game, you're also competing against what they call local resistance. So you have to get past a certain point on the track to win the battle. Depending on what round it is, it moves up as the game goes on. I needed to go one spot on the battle track, and I would have scored 28 points from it because I had 3 objective cards that I would have completed, and I had all their bonus actions. Plus, I would have got 10 points for winning the battle. I drew another freaking madness chip that was like my second in a row or third in a row, and it was like, this is ridiculous that I was this close to getting 28 points, and I drew another stupid madness chip.
Yeah, it's super deflating, right?
It is.
That's an interesting point that you brought up that I hadn't considered until just now. That it's probably a negative as well. Is that those quest cards? Most of the time you're drawing one, right? There's a few cards that allow you to draw 2, select one, but most of the time you're getting random probability. It's more randomness about, hey, I could have drawn. Every game I've played, I've drawn 3 or 4 quests at least, and I've been able to complete all of them to get the full potential 9 points per card. And that's great. But that just worked out that I was in a position to be able to fulfill all of those. There may be a time where you draw one of those cards at the end of the game or whatever, and it does absolutely nothing for you.
You have to get a certain number of level 2 chips or level 1 chips of a certain type. There's
right.
It's too late in the game. There's no way I can complete that.
Right.
Which and it splits up your focus too of the game.
It does.
These quest cards. It's like, okay, I'm going this way, but now I'm going this way, and I get this random quest card. Now I got to go this way.
But I don't mind that in games of that type. Like, sure, like I have to make a decision which way to go. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that most of the time those are random. Now, again, I've had good experiences with that, and that's worked out for me, and I've enjoyed it. But it does have the potential for this negative randomness. Now, with the bag building side of it, I think the biggest downside there is, unfortunately, there's no real way to cull that bag. There's like 1 or 2 cards that I've seen come out where you can get rid of it, and then there's something that you can upgrade to on your board that'll get rid of it.
It's the third round where those cards come out.
Correct.
And that's almost too late at that point.
Yeah, because you've already basically, it's this cascade effect where it's building up on you. If you need that, and honestly, the benefit for getting rid of a chip and what are on those cards are not like, I've never wanted to take that card just to get rid of a chip. Like the other cards are more incentivizing to me for the most part to be able to give me more potential.
Well, it's like get rid of one madness or get a card that gets you a level 2
right.
Other chips to put in your bag. It's like
which may be working towards one of my quests or whatever anyway. So it's more potential points there. So yeah, I think that there's potentially problematic issues there. I love bag builders, and from this experience, I've recognized more that one of the things that I think like Orleans, which I consider to be the best bag builder I've played, really does well at is it doesn't add negative stuff to your bag or like penalize you for your pulls. The negative comes from not being able to do something, and really you have to make do with what you get in there. It's not you're not being punished.
But you can save them for the next round,
right?
And build towards something else that may not be what you're going for on that turn.
And there are ways to get rid of stuff you don't want in your bag in Orleans. You can say, I'm gonna put this to the monastery, or like send them off to the citizens board, right? I'm gonna get rid of the stuff I don't want in my bag to increase my probability.
Right.
Yeah. Something super thematic.
Tripping with theme. Yeah.
But in Wonderland's War, the issue is that once a chip goes into your bag, it's pretty much there for the duration of the game. There's very little that can take a chip out of that bag.
It's frustrating. I think that's if this game had a way to cull those chips, even if you could like forge the madness chips, to get rid of them. And maybe it costs 2 forged tokens to forge a madness chip. that would be amazing. You could cull that stuff from your bag a little bit better. It would be a huge difference, I think, in the play of the game.
Yeah, that is a point. You can cull your bag by forging. But yeah, like you said,
but you can't forge the terrible stuff out.
You can't get the crap out.
Yeah.
But you can, there is culling.
But in fact, that culling is actually increasing the probability of getting
Yes.
Getting the manuscripts.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because by forging, it means that you have fewer good things in your bag and the bad stuff stays the same amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that is... I think this game has going against it is the setup time and the teardown time.
Yeah. Yes,
agreed. We've played Ankh a ton. I would rather set up Ankh twice and tear down Ankh twice than do that with this game once.
Oh my gosh. With the awesome, CMON inserts
got my
and
stuff,
everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got my stuff pretty well organized now, and I know where stuff goes. I would rather set that game up in a heartbeat over this game. It's not a huge ding, but still, it's... When you're already kind of on the fence of where you're at with this game, if
I really like a game, I enjoy setting it up.
Yes.
So that's why Ankh, right? It's you get the minis out. You're like, oh, this is cool, and you're setting up the scenario. You're like, oh, this is cool. It's not a burden to do that. But if the game is not your favorite, then it is a burden, I think. Or if it's not one that you really enjoy.
Yeah,
I think we've harped on it. I think
I've got more things that I could say about it that's good, but I don't think that we need to belabor it. I can talk about a little bit of that in my final thoughts. But is there anything else that you guys want to bash on this game on?
I'm surprised, Tyler, that you had so much negative to say about it.
He's jumping on this bandwagon.
No,
yeah. I know how. I mean, I think it's no secret how I felt about it after.
I'm a little bit numb to this game. I'm not sure where I completely stand with it. I've had fun. There's been a couple of exciting moments. There's also been painful and frustrating moments. And the length of play is it needs to speed up. That's one of the reasons I really enjoyed playing it at 2-player was it played really fast. I've played it at 4-player and 5-player. I think 3-player might be a sweet spot for this game.
I think 5-player is definitely too many. Though I love having everybody's abilities out there.
It is.
But
trying to keep track of all the Wonderlandians and which one's where and what ability is where, plus some of the upgraded abilities for the artifact chips.
It's a lot.
There's a lot of maintenance involved.
Yeah.
There is. Let's get to our final thoughts.
I agree. I think I'm going to go first because I know how I feel, and I think I know how you guys feel. So I'm going to front load this a little bit. It's a 4 for me. The game is a 4 for me because of the experiences I've had with the game. Now, I haven't had the negative experiences that you guys have had, or to the extent that you guys have had. Let's put it that way. I absolutely think the game is too long. I absolutely don't think that the game does a great job at culling stuff and being able to manage some of the madness. But my experience with this game has been a 4. Do I think that the game overall, if I continue playing this over and over and over again, would remain a 4? Most likely not. I expect that when we look back at this in a year, we're not going to have played this game probably. And if we have, even then, I think it would go down. My opinion of the game from that first play, when Kevin, you and I were playing and we had those really exciting stand-up moments, that is by far my favorite experience with the game to date. Everything else has been kind of a slight downtick, but I've overall enjoyed it. And I like the game. I like what it's trying to do. I think there's a lot of clever things going on with the Tea Party, with the battle phase, controlling areas, being able to move units around from area to area. I like the ability to have your own player board doing the upgrades, choosing, am I going to do the upgrades or am I going to forge more? There's a lot of different choices and ways that I can choose to do things in this game. And I think it works and creates very fun experiences. However, I am completely aware and completely agree that there are some significant glaring issues with the game that makes this not a game for everybody. And honestly, I don't know why I prefer this game to Quacks. The style of game is more what I like. I like direct interaction. I like conflict. I like area control. But I think Quacks is, while it's random, it's at least an equal amount of random as this game. And I said at least an equal amount of random as this game, because there is a lot fair.
Still disagree.
Well,
but it's your final thoughts.
No,
I'll
continue.
Yes. Sorry.
All I mean so I think that Quacks is random game, and there are plenty of things that can bad happen and you have no control over it, particularly in the last rounds of it. And it can feel like the game is playing you rather than you playing the game. This game can do that as well, but I've had more fun with this game. I don't have, this is not going to be a game that's for everybody, but there's a lot of fun that can be had if you like the same types of things that I've explained that I like. Interaction, kind of fun, whimsical things, asymmetric player powers, card drafting, that type of stuff. I think there's a lot of fun to be had. Again, the biggest complaint is that length of time. So yeah, a 4 for me, but I expect that'll go down.
I don't agree that it's the same as Quacks, for the reasons that we explained, that the madness chips are escalating as the game goes on, and your bag's getting better in Quacks as the game goes on. So I think there's some key differences there. I definitely like Quacks better, and I'm not a huge fan of Quacks, right? I mean, I enjoy Quacks, but like I explained before, Quacks is a 1 hour game, right? If I'm going to play a press your luck game, it's going to be like Can't Stop, Ink and Gold, maybe Quacks. It's like, if there's going to be that much randomness in there and I'm pressing my luck, I want that type of experience, not something that lasts 2 to 3 hours where I could get, hosed on my draws. It's just not a game that really excites me. You mentioned the look back. I can pretty much guarantee next year that I wouldn't have played this game in the past year. It's just not something that I am really interested in playing at all. So, it's no secret that I'm not a big fan of this one. And, because of that, I look at the game and I see that it does some things well, for sure. And we did have some exciting moments in that first play. And the tea party phase is cool. I really like the drafting. I think it's a unique take on drafting. I like the fact that you can skip to wherever you want, but there's going to be, a negative associated with that. If you go all the way around, you're going to get more, madness shards. That decision-making space is fun. But I just can't get over the fact that it is a long game and it's just, not something that I really enjoyed in my 3 plays for the most part. So, it's a 2 for me, I think. That's
almost higher than I expected.
That may be a little generous, right? Yeah. But I think it's at a 2. Yeah.
So I'm not quite to that point. I would still happily play this game. I still feel like there's strategy for me to explore and different things to try and different card sets to experience. I think I like it at the smaller player count. I would almost rather play this at 2 player than 4 or 5 player. I think 3 player, which I haven't played, might be the sweet spot. But I wouldn't turn this game down. I would definitely play it again. I look forward to trying it out again and seeing if I have some different results or different experience. I did have a couple really exciting moments. Those happen from time to time. There was one battle where Logan and I was 1 space away from the 25th spot and on the battle track, and he was like 3, and we both got there on the next draw, and that was really exciting and fun. I wanted to love this game. I feel kind of numb towards it. I don't know where I stand completely. It's a 3 for me, but I do look forward to trying it out some more. I've been let down with it, I feel like. And for me, if we talked about Orleans, we talked about Quacks. Orleans, one of my favorite games of all time. That's the best bag builder easily that I've ever played. I played somewhere in the 40-50 range games of Quacks, and I would hands down rather play that than Wonderland's War. And of those plays, I've had maybe 2 or 3 where I felt like I completely got gypped on my draws in the 8th or 9th round.
See, but that's the nature of a game like that, because that's the exact opposite that I've had with that. Every game I've played of Quacks, I have had the negative, like Kevin has with this.
See, and I haven't, like, with that many plays, I can think of a few times where I was like, man, that sucked. But most of the time, I feel like I'm right there in it. I love the different combinations in Quacks, and the fact that my bag is continually getting better over the course of the game, over 9 rounds, whereas in this game it's 3 and you're done. Takes too long, and your bag, especially if you're trying to forge a ton and get all those rewards, which tug and pull, balancing what's better and what's not, but you're also making your bag more likely to draw more madness. So it's a 3 for me. I will be excited to play it again. And I liked it at the lower player count. I thought what they did with the 2-player version of it, if you only play 2-player or only get a chance to play games at 2-player, I think it's a good game to have in your collection. But yeah, it's a 2 for me. 3. Sorry.
I was going to say.
I was thinking 2-player.
It's a 2-player game for him.
Yeah.
2.5?
No, it's a 3 for
Split
me.
rating.
It's a 3 for me. No split rating.
Split rating.
Split ratings are not allowed.
2 at 5-player. 3 at 2 or 3-player.
Whatever, Kevin. Get out of here.
What gets it to a 4? Nothing. No.
Being able to cull madness. I really think if there was a way, if they came out with, I mean, there's an expansion that came out, and I don't think that I glanced at it. I don't think that, it's waiting to be fulfilled, but I didn't see anything in there that really let you cull your madness in any way. I think that that's what this game is missing to potentially becoming a great game, is the ability to cull the madness at a much higher rate, right?
Yeah, a way to mitigate
if you
the madness chips more, whether that's other abilities. There's a few things in there where you can draw 2 chips and pick one, but they're few and far between.
Yeah.
You need something that's more accessible that allows you to cull.
If you could forge the madness, I know that doesn't make sense thematically, but if you could forge the madness and get it out of there, that would make this game,
even if that gave you like a penalty
better.
if you have to take shards or something like that, right? Like, so it sounds like the easiest way to make Kevin like this game is to do one of his favorite things and house rule it so that he really enjoys the game.
I will never play this game again.
He's done playing it. Oh, yeah. I was going to compare it to Blood Rage too, but I don't have anything great to say there. So
as far as Blood Rage goes, Blood Rage is a vastly superior game.
There's no comparison. There really isn't.
There are comparisons in mechanisms in what they do.
Where you get the Wonderlandians out when you purchase them. You get your monsters out when you play the cards. So.
But there's no comparison in quality of game to me. Like I said, this is for me a 4 game that's likely going to go down, whereas Blood Rage is easily a 5 game for me, and it's been that way for years. And
I agree.
So we all wrote blog posts on our BGG blog about our favorite new to us games of 2022, and I mentioned Wonderland's War as an honorable mention. It didn't make my top list of 5 games, but I'm after a couple more plays, I'm gonna go edit that part out and take Wonderland's War off.
You're editing your blog post.
It was in my top 5 for my 2022.
Where did it
games.
land?
It was like
do you remember?
3.
I think it was
3.
Okay. Yeah, but like that's only because I only played Lisboa one time, and like in Dead Reckoning I only played one time. Do I think we were asked to, even on Discord, what the comparison between Dead Reckoning and Wonderland's War is? If I had played Dead Reckoning as much as I've played Wonderland's War, I can tell you I'd probably like Dead Reckoning a lot more as well. So it's only number 3, I think, on my list as a result of not having played the other 2 as much. And similar to you, Tyler, I could see this falling off entirely given more time.
Yeah. I like I said, I'd still play it again because I still feel like there's more strategy for me to explore. And I've walked away from every single play knowing that there was something I could have done better and something that I learned. But yeah, it's just I'm beating a dead horse at this point. So that's
it.
Our feature review of Wonderland's War.
Should we get some things we're excited about?
Sure.
Let's do it. I'll start with that. So a few days ago, I saw, I think Jamie over at the Secret Cabal tweeted out a game that I didn't even know existed, or I didn't even know they were planning on doing this, right? So it is called Tales of Arthurian Nights. And it's based on, Tales of the Arabian Nights, right? So I have Tales of the Arabian Nights. We played this quite a bit when I first got it with my family. Had some amazing experiences. This is it's a storytelling game. So it's like, choose your own adventure type of book. So you're faced with a scenario and it says, hey, what do you do? Do you rob this guy? Do you befriend him? Do you do whatever? Completely random. And a lot of times when you pick something, it's opposite of what you think. Like you're nice to him and the guy ends up beating you up or something like that. So it's more of like an experience, not a strategic type of game or anything, but it's just a fun storytelling game. This one is based on, Arthurian legend. It looks like it's kind of a similar thing. I definitely will be picking this one up when it comes out. I think my family will really enjoy it. I don't know if it's going to have a spiral bound book or if it's all going to be digital or what. I don't really care. I kind of hope it's digital to save on costs at this point, but I'm super excited about it. I think it's coming out sometime this year. So
I've never played Tales of Arabian Night. I've only heard good things though from anybody I've heard who've had an experience with it. So I'm excited for you to get this because maybe I can get it a taste of what that's like at this point. So
you guys excited about anything coming up?
I am. So I'm excited about we talked about Kickstarters at the top of the episode and all that we have Kickstarters we're waiting on, and it's going to be a good year of that. I got my first Kickstarter shipping notification of the year.
Nice.
And I even got partially it delivered because it is the Brandon Sanderson Kickstarter, which has audio and digital content. So I got some of that, but I just got a shipping notice the other day.
I got mine too.
That I'm getting my first box coming to my door, and I'm super excited about it. I'm a big Brandon Sanderson fan. I love pretty much everything he's done, except for maybe The Rhythmist, but we won't talk about that.
That's the one I don't like either.
I know. And I like his content, the world building he creates. He's an author that does a lot of really great stuff. And so I'm getting a new box every month from him on top of all the board gaming content that I'm getting. I'm going to have a year full of interesting and good Kickstarter deliveries, I think. And I'm excited about that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm like, I'm 2/3 of the way through the new book.
It's different, but I like it.
Yeah, it is different. It's, I don't, the stuff he comes up with is just crazy to me. And it's super interesting. So
I've decided to wait and not listen to the audiobook of it because I want to actually read that physical book.
I know. I started thinking about that too, but I was on vacation. It showed up like at
and you got excited
12 something at midnight on the first. I'm like, I'm just going to start reading it, But I'm excited to get the physical book too because it's a premium hardbound book. It's illustrated, and we have a huge library of books, and it's going to look good on the shelf.
The books were delayed a little bit, and so but they had the February boxes ready to go, which is Hoyd.
Yep,
it's Hoyd. Yeah.
If you know anything about Sanderson, the Cosmere, Hoyd is in everything. So
yeah, so they're sending that box out early, which is awesome. The way that he interacts with his fans and
the Sanderson updates,
he creates amazing content continually, and oh, by the way, he constantly keeps you updated on where he's at and what he's working on. It's just
you.
That's why
he's a machine.
Yeah, that's why he raised $41 million on his Kickstarter campaign, right?
And how much more probably during the backer pledge part of it.
Right. Yeah.
I did $1 pledge on the miniatures, and I upped that a little bit. So I'm going to be getting some of the miniatures from the other Kickstarter.
So am I, but they're coming in my monthly box. So.
Yeah. You guys are such fanboys.
But
that's cool.
Same boat. It's going to be awesome to constantly be getting Sanderson content plus tons of games that I backed that are starting to line up to get here soon. think that wraps up our episode.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more Longest Turn in your life, please check us out on Instagram. Also, be sure to check us out on Board Game Geek, where you can join our guild, Guild 3947, and check out our blog, where we post all our show notes and occasionally post more detailed reviews. If that's not enough for you, we have a Discord server. If you want to play a game with us on Board Game Arena, join our Board Game Arena group, The Longest Turn. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Tot ziens.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is gonna be a good episode.
We need to have separate banter in this episode that we need to manufacture really quick.
This is gonna be more editing in this one, I think. Banter, go.
There's some imagination you can. Is there a spider up there?
No, there's not. I just noticed there was paint on the way.
Oh, yeah. I keep waiting for that bulb to burn out. Right. Anyway. Is it me?
It is you.
All right. Did you talk about 2 games?
I talked about... I feel like you're present.
It's because he's disparaging us.
You're going to talk about Arkham Horror.
I'm going to talk about Arkham Horror.
Yeah, you haven't done it yet.
No, I haven't. I haven't done it yet. I'm going to talk about 2 games, but I don't think it's my turn.
No. Well, I don't know.
Oh, well.
I think I did go first. Yeah.
You did go first.
I did. All right.
Yeah.
Where have you been this episode? All 4 of us rated this the same.
That's correct.
All 3 of us did.
Yep.
All 3 of us rated it a 4.
All 3 of us rated it a 4. Hey.
Not all 4 of us rated it a 3, though.
No, exactly, because that wouldn't make any sense.
That wouldn't.
Oh, yeah. Then,
your transition sucked.
yeah, it did. That was the whole point.
I didn't hear a transition.
It was.
Look back to the look forward. Come
Oh,
on.
yeah.
It was beautiful. He just forgot to introduce me.
Yeah, I did.
Right.
We've played this game a number of times, so let's give it our regular treatment of a review. Wow, that was awful.
I love when he says that.
That's going to be in the outtakes.
But then when I was talking about Long Shot, there was a point where I had a thought where I'm like, wait a second, I'm the one talking about this game right now. And I was like, where am I? And I was like,
Great sign.